so happy we alive.
Yeah, here we are. We're inside Hubler's Winery right now, and we're going to take a look around and see who's here to see Jamey right now.
After just being with Jamey for a few weeks, you know, I thought, well, maybe my place is to stay here, maybe just a year or so, and just see how this works, you know? And I'll go to IUS and see what happens there. So I went to IUS and I started working for Jamey and working more and more. The business got busier and busier. But another thing I was doing more was practicing. I was practicing more than ever. I would work with Jamey, sneak in an occasional private lesson, which he never charged me for, by the way, and go home and practice 4 or 5 hours a day. And as I started playing with his play-alongs, I realized that, man, I really love these things. And I would actually get excited about getting home and playing with these play-alongs. And I also saw my playing improve leaps and bounds at this time, too. And I thought, you know, if this has this effect on just an average high school player like myself, it could have this effect on anybody. So I really started to realize that I was at the beginning of something that was potentially very exciting and very big. And I thought, I should probably start taking this job more seriously. Well, as it turns out, what was happening was nothing less than the creation of an entirely new industry in the music print business, the jazz publishing business. It almost sounds funny to say it that way, but right now, today, the jazz publishing business is one of the largest of all the music publishing catalogs out there today, and really can all be traced to Jamey Aebersold, who tirelessly pursued putting publications out there to make them available to kids, because if you go back to the mid-'70s, there were really very few books available on jazz improvisation. David Baker was one of the great authors back then who was doing his best to get the books out there, and certainly we publish a lot of David's books ourselves. But Jamey came in, and everybody thought that jazz was something that only the super talented could do. You know, that you either had it or you didn't, and there was no sense even trying. Well, Jamey, David, and others felt differently. They had basically deciphered and codified all the secrets of the masters and figured out the chord scale harmony and thought, well, we can teach this to musicians who want to play jazz. So Jamey had not only transformed the music industry, but he'd also lit a grass fire in the grassroots of the musicians in general with his mantra of anyone can improvise. And that sounds simple today, but back then, that sort of phrase was a paradigm shift in thinking. Again, they thought only the super talented could play. Well, anyway, the more play-alongs we get out there, the more people we're using, the more people say, hey, I can play jazz. It's like anything else. It's an endeavor, it's a craft, there are tricks of the trade, and there's some hard work you have to put into it. But basically, we can play jazz. And that was, like I said, that was a change in thinking, really brought home by one man, Jamey Aebersold from New Albany. And it's already been touched on several times tonight about how Jamey is more well-known abroad than he is here in New Albany. This is true. One of my favorite stories has to do with Ed Bodine, Jamey's neighbor, who was traveling with an engineer from Brazil. And in the course of just going through normal business, Ed was writing his address down, and the guy said, Aebersold Drive, I know a jazz musician named Aebersold. He said, oh, really? Yeah, Jamey Aebersold. Oh, really? He's my next door neighbor. And the guy just flipped out, and he said, well, Jamey is big in Brazil. Jamey is big in Brazil. Well, Jamey's big in a lot of countries. He really is. He's a celebrity in a lot of countries. And you know what? I bet the guy in Brazil tells that story a lot more than I do. But the philosophy of the business is basically Jamey's philosophy, and that is every kid that wants to learn how to play jazz should have a book. So we've really worked to keep our costs low, and in fact, most of you probably don't know this, we still run the business in the basement that it started in. This is something that surprises a lot of people who come by and look at it. I remember when CBS Sunday Morning did a special on Jamey in 1989, I remember the camera lady coming in, or well, actually it was a cameraman with a lady behind him, and they walked into the basement, and he had his camera up on his shoulder, and she looked at me and she said, where's the studio? And I said, well, it's right here. And the guy with the camera, his camera just went, You know, they were really disappointed that there wasn't this gleaming white and chrome state-of-the-art studio. You know, but to me that made this story more interesting. But they didn't go for it. You know, they were a little disappointed. We get walk-in traffic all the time from people who are traveling down I-65 or I-64, and they see New Albany. And so they pull over right away, and they call us and they say, you know, can you give me directions, because I've got to tell everybody that I was at Jamey Aebersold's shop, you know. And so I give them directions, and I say, and it's a house with a blacktop driveway, and you want to park on the street. And say, okay, well, where's the store? You know, well, it's in the back of the house. Oh, yeah, so it's a real big house then. No, it's just kind of an average-sized house, you know. And so, you know, they park on the street, they walk around the back, they come in, and, you know, they can see why our overhead is so low. Because it really is low. But, you know, we look at our customers, not just as customers, but as fans. And I think that's another secret to our success. You know, Jamey wouldn't have it any other way. We've never been in this to make money. We've always been in this to help people, help musicians like us. We've always had a love for the music. And we're the only company I know that you can call and speak to the president and general manager and get a free private lesson. And I've given a few, and Jamey's given more than his share too. I mean, people call up and they ask for Jamey, and we put them through to him. Jamey just the other day was discussing nomenclature with a very energetic fellow. But, you know, that's what we do. You're not going to get that kind of service at Amazon.com or any other company, because we were never really into it for financial success. The reason we were in there was to spread the word, and I think Jamey has done a tremendous job of that, as we've heard throughout the night. But basically, I should probably mention, too, some of the famous people that do use our products and endorse them. Some of the ones that everybody's heard of will be like Doc Severinsen, Herb Alpert's a big fan, Henry Mancini. I sent lots of stuff to him years ago before he passed away, obviously. And Phil Woods. Now, a lot of you might not know Phil Woods, but he's a jazz legend. Played with Charlie Parker. I mean, he's still alive and kicking. But you are familiar with Phil's work, because anybody that's heard the song, the Billy Joel song, "Just the Way You Are," has heard Phil Woods solo. That's the most famous pop sax solo in the world. And Phil Woods is a big fan of our stuff. Other people that you may have heard of that endorse our product and use it was Dudley Moore, again while he was alive, I suppose. Chevy Chase is a piano player. He uses our stuff. Gary Lawson, the guy that draws the Far Side. Gary Larson, the guy who draws the Far Side. Boots Randolph, who's a saxophone icon legend. And a guy, Bill Clinton. Actually, yes, Bill Clinton is a fan. I don't know if he's used this stuff, but in the music merchandise catalog that we get, he was campaigning through Los Angeles, I believe it was, and the Musicians Union presented him with a set of Jamey Aebersold play-alongs as a gift. So we're far and wide. You've already heard the famous count-off that musicians heard. Well, you can also hear it on a rap song now. Jurassic 5, I'll bet most of you haven't heard of them. I didn't hear them before this, but they actually had a rap song and inserted Jamey's count-off in there. It's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not kidding. So we've even permeated the rap market. I mean, it's been amazing how far-reaching Jamey's influence has been. Okay. Well, I'm up pretty high right now. I mean. Okay. Well, the last thing I want to say is that I've been at many award ceremonies for Jamey, and he has never once forgotten to mention me and thank me for the small part that I've played in his success. So I really am thankful to the Rotary Club for giving me a chance to get up and thank Jamey for everything he's done.